The next thing you guys are going to learn is how to divide polynomials, and this is something that you should have already learned from Algebra 2. So this is going to be a quick review lesson that you should easily be able to learn on your own. Okay, so let's get right into it. Alright, the first thing you should know is that first of all, if you have a polynomial divided by a single variable x, like something like x squared minus 5x plus 7, just divided by x, the first thing is you should not be using either long division and or synthetic division, which are our two methods that we're going to learn. So first thing is, when you have this, you should just set this up as a simple division problem, and you should divide each term by x. Okay? And now let me set my thing up here because I lost my thing. Alright, so with a problem like this, you just want to take each of your terms, okay, and that's what that means, x squared minus 5x plus 7 divided by x, and you actually want to take each of your terms and divide them by x like this, and then simplify. So x squared divided by x is x, 5x divided by x is just 5, and then 7 doesn't go into x, so you're just going to leave that as 7 divided by x. And then you're done. And that's the easiest way to do a problem when you're dividing just by a single term or divided by a single variable. Okay, so that's it for that, and now let's move on to long division. Okay, so first of all, this should look familiar to you. So what you're doing is, if you remember from Algebra 2, this is what it looks like. You have a large polynomial divided by something simple like this, like x minus 1, a smaller binomial, and you're setting it up just like a long division problem like you did in middle school. Okay? So that's what it's going to look like, and sometimes it'll simplify to just another polynomial, or it'll simplify to a polynomial with a remainder. Okay? So here's our first example, and we have a nice quadratic function, x squared minus 5x plus 7, divided by x minus 2. So what we want to do is we want to set this up into a typical long division problem, and you're going to set up x squared minus 5x plus 7 as your dividend and x minus 2 as your divisor, like this, like a traditional long division problem. Okay. Alright, so basically what you want to do is you want to look at your first term, okay, in your dividend, and you want to say how many times or how many x's will it take to make, in your first term here, how many times does this go into x squared? So basically, how many more x's do I need to make x squared? And hopefully you all know that I need one more x to make an x squared. So what you're going to do is you're going to put that up here over your second term, and then you say you actually are going to do this multiplication. And remember, since you have two terms right here in your divisor, you're going to have to use the distributive property when you're doing your multiplication. So x times x will give you x squared, and then x times the negative 2 will give you negative 2x. Now if you remember from when you're doing traditional division, what you do with these terms now is you subtract. Okay? So x squared minus x squared is 0, and then minus a negative 2x, this will actually be plus, and then you have negative 5x plus 2x, which will be negative 3x. Okay? So now bring down your next term, and now you have this term, and you have to say how many times does x go into negative 3x, and you can see that now you need a negative 3. Okay, so we're going to put that up here, and now do your multiplication again. Negative 3 times x will be negative 3x, and negative 3 times our negative 2 will be positive 6. Do your subtraction. Okay, these are going to cancel out. This will actually be a minus. 7 minus 6 will be 1. This time we have a remainder, so what you're going to do with your remainder 1 is, remember, the remainder always goes over your divisor, so then we're going to put plus 1 over x minus 2. And this is your final answer, x minus 3 plus 1 over x minus 2. Okay, so that's our first problem. I'd ask if you had any questions, but you can't answer. Okay, so let's move on to our next problem. All right, and now this one's a little bit different. If you notice when you look at your terms here, you have negative 2x cubed, and then the next term is 4x to the first. So if you notice, we're missing what's called the quadratic term in this expression. So when we're writing out our dividend, or the number that's underneath our division sign, you have to make sure that you put all of your terms in descending order. All right, so right here, write our division problem. X plus 3 goes over here. And this time we have to do negative 2x cubed plus 0x squared plus 4x minus 9. Okay, so you always have to put in a coefficient of 0 with every term. Make sure they're in descending order, or your terms aren't going to line up correctly when you go to subtract. Okay, so then just start your process. Okay, maybe I'll change colors this time, make it purple. All right, and again, look for your first term, the highest power here, and say how many more do I need to make an x cubed? I need an x squared and a coefficient of negative 2. I'm going to put it over this term, so that'll be negative 2x squared. Multiply these out. Again, distributive property. And then negative 2x squared times 3 will be negative 6x squared. Subtract. Bring down your 4x. Okay, and then keep repeating the same process. This time I have an x. I'm going to need 6x. Create that term. 6x times x is 6x squared. 6x times 3 is 18x. Subtract. Okay, cancel out. That'll be negative 14. Bring down your negative 9. And then you're going to need a negative 14 for your last term. Negative 14 times 3 is negative 42. And then you're going to subtract, and that's positive 33 for our remainder. Okay. Remember, write your remainder over your divisor. Okay, and there you have it. Next one done. All right, we'll do one more example, and our last one is going to be a little bit different than our last two. Okay. All right, so here on to our third example. We have x to the fourth plus 3x cubed plus x minus 5. Now if you notice, this time in our divisor we have a quadratic term, which is a little bit different than our last one, rather than a linear term. Okay, so that's what makes this one a little bit different. But you're still going to start it off the same way. And in this case, we still have, make sure we don't forget our quadratic term again. So we have x to the fourth plus 3x to the third, 0x squared, 1x, and then minus 5. Okay. All right, so again, we want to start it off the same way. Okay, again, we need an x squared to create an x to the fourth from our x squared. All right, so we're going to come over here. All right, let's just put it there. X squared times x squared will make an x to the fourth. And now when we do our distributive property, we have negative 3 times x squared. Well, if I take my 3 times x squared, that's going to make a negative 3x squared. I don't want to put it there because if I go to do my subtraction, you can't take x to the third and subtract an x squared. So you have to make sure that you do line your terms up correctly. So I'm going to put my negative 3x squared underneath my quadratic term so that I can subtract them properly. All right, so negative, right, they subtract. You got to bring down this guy right here because we didn't have, it's like almost like a 0x to the third there, so you're bringing that down. And then this will give me plus 3x squared. Bring down this term as well. Okay, so you're looking at the term at the highest power. Take this one, and you're going to need a 3 and an x to create the term at the highest power. Okay, do your distributive property, 3x. We'll make it 3x cubed 3x times negative 3 will make a 9x, which is going to go under this term right here. And subtract. Okay, these will cancel out. This one you're just going to bring down. And this will give me a 10x. And I'm going to bring down my 5. Okay? And now you can see I just need a 3 to create my last term. Okay? 3 times x squared will be 3x squared. 3 times 3 is, that's a negative 9. Okay? And these will subtract. I have my 10x to bring down. And then negative times a negative, that's a positive. So negative 5 plus 9 will be positive 4. Okay? So now what I'm left with down at the bottom is 10x plus 4. And this does not go into x squared minus 3. Okay? So you can't, there's nothing you can multiply an x to create an x squared. So therefore what we're going to do, this whole expression down here is going to be our remainder. So now we're going to have this part of our quotient and then plus the whole remainder, 10x plus 4 over x squared minus 3. Okay, and there you go. There you have it. And that is polynomial long division. Thank you.